are personal trainers that just say, just do it. It's the Dr. Phil in the 90s. I did one of Dr. Phil's workbooks when he came out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about, well, if you really wanted to lose weight, you would.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically, there's something about you that you like being this size, you like what you're doing, so just stop what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. No one ever thinks beyond.
I did buy into that. So
yeah. Well, they don't think beyond the excessive. Well, they don't think beyond the excessive desire for it. No one's thinking maybe this person wants it so bad that it's impacting their mind in a negative way. Make sense?
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, so for example, when Dr. Phil says that, he's truthful, but he's not seeing, well, there's a point at which someone wants it so bad. It's not a lack of wanting it. You've never had a lack of wanting to be thinner, right? And again, everything's about the thinnerness. No one's looking at that either. But when you look at, if you really wanted it, you would do it. Well, of course, and you have. How many times have you lost weight? How many times?
Probably lost about 400 pounds.
Oh, and we know that was a conservative number.
Altogether.
No. So it's not a matter of not wanting it. It's a matter of maybe what you've attached to that thinnerness has more to do with being thin. Look at is it really about being thin? Is it really about that? You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's what he wasn't really looking at is, that thinnerness represents her feeling lovable. So it's kind of weird to say, if you wanted to be lovable, you would do it. That sounds like shit. You hear how different that is?
Yes.
If you want people to like you, you'll do it. You hear the truth in that.
I'm doing it for other people.
Correct. But that's not what thin supremacy says. It's about being thinner and being a better person. So what you're hearing is, if you want to be a better person, you would do it. If you really want to better yourself. Okay, so they're attaching betterness to the thinness. No one questions that. It's like dogma. So that's why it's so hard, especially when you're getting that suggestion from someone you've given authority, like Dr. Phil, who you would never question. You would never think, well, what he's saying is harmful, because he's supposed to be a safe person to be with. Clearly, he's bought into thin supremacy.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and this was in the 90s.
Yeah.
So maybe early 2000s. So then I never bought another one of his workbooks, because I thought, this is when he first came out.
Yes, after because of Oprah. Yeah, he was connecting with Oprah at the time, and yeah.
And I thought, this is it. He'll save me. And then I'm went through his workbooks, and it just ended up being, wow. I guess I am still a failure, because I must not really want it, but I do. So I just never looked at his workbooks again.
Okay, so give me an overall understanding. I'm assuming have you been diagnosed with an eating disorder?
No.
You've never actually gone in?
No, I've never talked to a professional before.
Got it. No, have you ever had therapy?
Not for binge eating. In the early, probably the late 80s, I had to go to court-appointed therapy because my stepdad had molested me.
Got it.
And so the court sent us to
How old are you?
Therapy for a couple of sessions.
Yeah.
43.
Okay. So I'm 40. We're in the same generation.
I went just a couple sessions there because the court said you need to go to family therapy. I think I was 13 or 14.
Okay. And you were molested for how long? Was it a one-time occurrence, or was it like?
No, it was probably age 6 to 12, 6 to 13.
Got it. 6 to 13, and then you spoke out, or he got caught, or both?
No, he got caught.
So someone walked in.
My sister walked in, and then she told my mom the next day, and then my mom confronted me about it, and then I told her the truth.
Oh my God, you're so brave.
And
That's so brave. When you look back, are you like, holy shit, that was really brave? That's like facing the issues, right? Now all of a sudden, shit's gonna blow up, you know. A lot of times that keeps people silent, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, no. At the time, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It just before. This is so crazy. Before he came along, we had been evicted a lot. We'd been moving, apartment to apartment.
Yeah.
And then when he came along, there was some security.
Yeah, stability. Oh, that is so sick when you look at it. That is so sick.
I know, it's horrible. So
because
all the time, and it was like I felt guilty, or we had to go back to that living.
That was the cost of stability. That's just I'm just sitting with that for a second. I'm having compassion for you right now. I'm not feeling sorry for you. I'm just having some compassion for those are very intense, emotional positions to put a child who doesn't know or understand what's going on. You know?
Yeah. So, looking back, I realize now.
Yeah, well, what was
going on.
Totally, because now you're an adult, and those are emotions you could handle. Those are things you could handle and go, this is what needs to be done. Like, you can process through it. You can have relative perspective around it as well, like understanding your mom's situation and understanding your stepdad's situation and what type of trauma he might have been in, and just how psychologically sick the environment you were raised in, and which had nothing to do with you, right? But as a child, you're in it and you think you're part of it, and it really had nothing to do with you. But those are things your brain has to develop, and you have to have perspective, and you have to have therapy, and you got to look at things, and you got to just kind of unravel things later. But that's going to happen through this process, by the way. That's what happens. Because I would assume, obviously when you sent your request form in to have this consultation, you had mentioned your mother weighed you all the time. She was very concerned about your body image, which would make sense to me if your mother felt really unstable in herself, that she would gravitate to something so superficial to try to help you in society. She clearly felt financially incapable to support her family and her children. She felt like a failure. I can tell you that without even knowing the situation. So grasping at something like you got to be good looking, she's looking at a man as a solution. So she's seeking stability for you through misogyny.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Well, she didn't know. That was the time. Your mom was a baby boomer. That's what they were taught. Don't go to school. They weren't taught to go to school. They weren't taught to do anything we were taught. The generation of our parents was dramatically different for us. They did an incredible job. I will congratulate that generation on this level, which is they made such drastic changes between how they were raised and how we were raised. But it almost made their emotional maturity beneath their goal. right? So they didn't really necessarily have an awareness of the impact that these decisions would make emotionally. They just knew we're not doing it the same. We're not doing it the same way, even though, so they overreached their emotional capacity. But anyways, I could be wrong.
Even though I wasn't like I wasn't an overweight kid.
That doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with your actual weight. It has to do with the fear or the hope that you can get out. That your hope to get out of this environment is through your looks. So what happens, and this is what happened for me with a religious context. It's the same identical thing, however. My hope was to get married. And so getting married in this specific culture, religious culture. So we weren't raised to think education was important. We were raised to believe the scriptures and reading the scriptures and dressing appropriately and meeting this tiny little box of expectations in a religion was important. On top of the misogynistic standards of thin supremacy and health righteousness and all that shit that we were kind of brainwashed with in the 1980s, right? All parents, to include myself, am giving my children what I believe will help them have a successful life based on what I define success as, right? Your mother, you could look at it and say she really believed that the way for you to get out was to be sexually attractive to men, which is part of that generation, right? So that thinness is really important. So for me, I was treated the same way with religion. In actuality, what they're doing is teaching you. They don't know it. My mom didn't know it. My dad didn't know it. And your mom didn't know it. That you suck. You inherently suck. And you need to have something to make it in life. So for her, it was you need to maintain your weight. You need to stay thin. Do you see that at all?
I never did.
So it's actually a really messed up way to love you.
Connected.
Say that again?
It is. I never made any kind of a connection before.
Yeah, if she didn't really love you or care about you, she wouldn't have paid attention to you or cared about your weight. She would have been like, why don't you just get as fat as you want and no one will care. But no, she wanted you to be successful, and the only thought of success she could think of at the time was your attractiveness. And if you go back to the 1980s and that generation of narcissism, it was all superficial. The whole entire generation was all about how much money, what type of car, how big is your house, what status do you have? It was all glamorized. Think of daytime soap operas. That was the culture. Dallas. That's what we were raised to believe. Right? And so your mom just bought it and she thought, that's what I want for my daughters. I want my daughters to be on Dallas. I'm laughing because it's kind of funny.
Totally.
Yeah.
She tried to get the commercial.
Oh my God. See, straight from the 1980s. I swear to God. Yeah, beauty pageants. And she truly, truly wanted you to do well. And that's what she thought would do it for you. I'm just saying, she loved you very, very much and had no idea because she probably didn't get educated. I mean, did she graduate from high school?
Yes.
Awesome. Did she go to college?
She started, but then she got pregnant.
Yeah.
And had to get married.
And had to get married.
Yes.
You hear?
So then she had 2 sons and got divorced.
Mm-hmm. And that had to have been so hard. So that marriage must have been pretty bad. To do that. Especially with a mom that doesn't have any education outside of high school. It's just amazing to me. So that now if you have this relative perspective, not only how her generation was raised, right? The shift in how culture changed so abruptly and why she would gravitate and not have the discernment around a pedophile, devastating for her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Have you carried resentment for her?
Oh, yeah.
How does it, so does it make sense for you to hold that resentment as if she did everything wrong?
Right now, no.
Well, right now, what does it feel like right now?
I feel bad for her.
Yeah. Do you have children yourself?
No.
Okay, imagine that you did, and you or your mom. Just go there.
Yeah, I never wanted kids because I didn't want them to go through what I went through.
Well, it sounds like you don't feel comfortable with your own ability to do it. It has nothing to do with the environment. The thing is that you can handle what you went through. You handled it. You totally survived it, and you're totally fine, right? If it was between you and your sister, who would you rather?
Oh. Sometimes my sister.
I laugh because I have 6 sisters, and I know where that answer came from, but go into your truth now. Who could handle it? And who couldn't? There is an answer, and it is the truth. You just need to admit it.
I want to say me.
Well, you can tell. You have that feeling there. The feel is there that ultimately you volunteered. You would do this. Because you can handle it. There is what wants to say her in you, what wants to say that is the victim martyr that you've used to protect yourself. Right? So the willingness to say, I volunteer for that, what that does is it removes the victim position from protecting you. And there's no one to blame. So it removes the blame aspect of how you coped. Go into that concept and how it would change the whole story. Can you do that for me? Are you okay to do this? I'm kind of forcing you to go back into this to open it up, but if you're okay with it, I think this is an important thing for you to do.
Okay. No, I can.
Yeah, screw the eating disorder shit. That'll go away quickly. Let's go into the heart, right? I'm going to ask the question again, and I want you to really go into your heart. If you were given the opportunity to volunteer for who goes through this, would you rather it her or you?
Can I choose none of the above?
No, because that doesn't work. Because none of the above would be. You would end up with some serious mental health problems with that one too. Don't you agree?
Yeah.
No, you don't have a choice. So it's either her or you. And I want you to imagine that you say, "I'll do it. I can handle it." I want you to feel that. How does that feel?
Like I'm saving her.
Yes, and you're doing it willfully. That's a little different, isn't it? To say, I volunteer because I can handle this, and I'm gonna recover from it. I don't think she could. Not to say that she's a negative or a inferior person. There's something in you that feels, I can handle this. I'm doing it. Voluntarily.
Okay.
How does that feel, and how does that change, or how you, because you did it. It's over. You served that lesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that feel to know that it is over and you did it?
Like, service is done?
Yeah, like that was, imagine that was a contract you volunteered for. To remove it from your sibling. Does that change how you think about it?
It does a little.
How?
In that time is over. The burden is over.
Mm-hmm. You served a contract, like it's over.
But am I still serving that contract? Is that what the binge eating is from?
Well, that's denying it. That's like the binge eating more than likely obviously the binge eating comes from body image stuff. So don't worry about the binge eating stuff. That's distracting.
Okay.
Right? That's the obvious outcome of some of this internal shit that you're not facing. So by looking at it from a contractual, like, I volunteered before we came here that was my job. I was going to do that because I believe I can handle it. You would never have volunteered for it if you couldn't handle it. Am I right?
Right.
So, how does that change your perception around it? The feel around that experience?
It changes the feel, but I feel like I didn't have a choice, but to just...
Well, of course, but imagine if you could, just imagine, okay?
Okay.
That you, regardless of your awareness of the choice, this was something that you were forced. This is an experience you were going to have. Similar to someone who gets in a car accident and loses their legs. Do they have a choice?
No.
Right? They're, someone with you'll never forget, right? There's a permanence in that experience. There's an awareness and a permanence in the experience and how you perceived it. Keep in mind, you perceived it from a child's perspective, right? So you have a child's viewpoint. That's the other thing you need to be aware of. Right now, you're recalling from a child's perspective, which is very, very small, right? There's no hugeness. There's no relative perspective for you to go, oh, my mom and this guy, and he was molested. Oh my God. This has nothing to do with me. You don't have that, right? From your perspective. You're seeing it from a child's limited, naive perspective.
Yes.
Feeling like I don't know what to do. What is going on? What is he doing? What's this? You don't have any understanding. So now you're an adult. You can look back and have understanding, and I want you to recognize. So go into the recognition. Could you handle that? Did you handle it?
Yeah.
You did. It's over. You checked the box. So whatever the reason is, you served what was due. Right? Now, I also think it's important to look back and recognize it had nothing to do with you. Right? Often as a child, remember that I said you have a child's perspective? A child assumes that this is about you, right? This is about me. Something's wrong with me.
Right.
It's me. You don't realize this has nothing to me about me. I'm just a body.
Right. But I thought that my whole life because I always hear that these men know how to choose their victims. And I was always a very quiet, compliant child.
Yeah. Well,
I never ruffled feathers. I was.
Yeah. So you realize you weren't the victim, but your mother was. He chose her. And I'm not diminishing what happened, but I want you to know that your mother was his victim.
Interesting. Okay. Because there's no me without her.
Correct. And all children are, for the most part, compliant. Every single one. Especially when you go into like 5 years old. It has nothing to do with you. Your mother was the victim. You got access because your mom's probably desperate need for stability, wanting to feel good. He brought her stability. He convinced her that he would provide his children a home, pay for clothes. That's like, oh my God, can you imagine how that felt for your mom?
I can, yeah.
Yeah. So your mother was the victim. You're the innocent. You were the innocent bystander. You know, your mom was innocent too, because she had no idea, but she was easily manipulated. You know, so your mother was the one that got manipulated, and you were a child. You have no discernment. You're a child, and you're wired to trust adults are safe. So can you see how it wasn't about you?
I can to a point, though, because I have nieces who are like 18 and 15 now. And when they were the age that I was when I was being molested, they were very outgoing children, and I just thought, I sometimes I see children, I think, this, you know, even compare myself to children as an adult. It's so weird.
Well, yeah, you
would never be molested because they are outgoing.
Yeah, that is a lie. That's a lie. You don't listen to yourself. That was a lie. Those are all like your victim stories. You need to kind of push that aside. That has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Outgoing kids are molested too. What you're trying to do is convince yourself that you suck. There is something you get out of that, and it could be that it could be. Give me a second to think about this for a second. Why you would to place blame on yourself. Why are you blaming yourself, right? You could say, well, that's because everybody does that. That's what I did too, right? There must be something wrong with me. Again, it's all about me. So if you could go back, what would you tell yourself? If you had to go through this again, we're going to like push the rewind button and we got to go back to when you're 4 years old. Okay. And nothing can change. Okay. Because obviously what we do is we'd say, Mom, don't marry this guy. We'd prevent the actual experience, right? You can't do that. Just imagine you had to go through it again. What would you tell yourself? What did you know need to get through it without the same trauma?
Just, it'll all be over soon. Just grin and bear it.
Yeah, and don't you agree too? You would say this has nothing to do with you.
Right. Yeah.
Now feel that. Tell me how that feels. This has nothing to do with you.
Feels like a relief.
Okay, let's invite that feeling in. Can you describe it? This has nothing to do with you. Imagine you're that child and you're holding your own little hand saying, sweetie, this has nothing to do with you. You're just a toy for this person. He is messed up. This man needs major help. This has nothing to do with you.
I don't think I would feel so connected to it.
Right? Because it has nothing to do with you. I would totally agree. Nothing at all.
Interesting. I never, ever thought of it that way.
Well, don't you love...
It was the complete opposite.
Right? Well, you know what? Doesn't it feel good to know? And actually, do you feel the truth in what I'm saying?
I do.
That's gotta feel good. This is true. This had nothing to do with me. This has to do with that man's childhood trauma. He was probably molested from a very young age, and he has his own trauma.
Yeah, well, I know that he was because our grandfather was a pervert too. He got arrested.
Yeah, okay. So
he was molesting the grandchildren.
Yes. So let's just take you out of this. Take yourself out. That man had his own suffocation issues, and the only way to feel better about it was to do that act to someone else. And he found a woman with children that needed his support and stability. Do you think that he ever told himself, I'm not going to do it anymore after this? I'm done. I can't do it anymore. Do you ever think he said that to himself?
All the time, probably.
Yeah, all the time. And he didn't want to do it. I'm positive about that. He just didn't know how to stop. He knew he didn't want to do it, but he didn't know how to stop. Right? Kind of like binging.
Yes.
Same thing. It's the same exact feeling, just so that you know. I have to do it. I don't know how to stop.
It's very interesting. I never thought of it. I mean, I knew that what he did was connected to what happened to him.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with you. It was his pain. Go ahead.
I didn't know directly that he was molested, but I figured since the grandpa was doing that to the grandkids, I figured that it didn't start with us.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Did he go to prison?
He went to jail for about 6 months.
Things are so different now, aren't they? He would be in prison.
Yeah, well, we also had to write letters to the court about what we wanted to happen to him. And I don't want to say this is a false memory, but I think in my letter I wrote something about needing his income in our house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if the judge, maybe the judge looked at that. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, he lost his job. He got fired. And he went to jail for about 6 months. I know it wasn't prison, it was the county
Sure,
jail.
it doesn't even matter.
So yeah, that was maybe around 89.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 88, 89-ish.
How much of that have have you created an identity of who you are around that?
Which aspect of it?
Just your identity. When you think of your name, who you are, how much of that is included?
All of it.
Okay, so I want you to imagine that you're dying right now. Okay, just imagine you are on death's door. It's right there. And you're looking back at your life. Okay. And you just imagine you have a whole life defined by that period of time. If you could, and keep in mind when you're dying, you have to, before you die, you surrender your name, your identity, the body, what it looks like. Everything about the body and about your life goes away. It's like your life is dying. It's like the death of a time period, right? And you leave it. You are leaving this life. If you could go back, would you make that period of your life and that man's issue, would you make that define your entire identity again?
No, it sounds like such a waste of time.
Well, it's a waste of your essence, right? Because it isn't true that is not who you are, right? So you could, but you see that in hindsight. That had nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the life that is being handed to me on a daily basis. I have another day, brand new day, right? There's this whole aspect of my being and the life I'm living, right?
Right.
Why hold on to something that I could let go of? It doesn't define me. It's not who I am. It has nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me. And I can handle that. I cannot tell you how important that last sentence I said is to you. And I can handle that. I can handle it. If I had to do it again, what would you do differently? Go back to what we were talking about. If you had to go back there again, what would you do differently, knowing what you know now?
You mean if the circumstances didn't change?
Yes, correct. That if you had to by
I thought a million times of killing him while it was happening.
Yeah, but then you'd have that. That's defining, right? Now you're defined by it forever. Let's go back and rethink it. Remember what we said before? What would you tell yourself if you could go back and do it again?
Just get through it. It's not going to last.
And what did I add to that?
You can handle it.
And what else?
It's not permanent.
And it has nothing to do with you.
It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah, so just move on. This has nothing to do with you.
Okay.
You were an innocent target. If you could do that, let's imagine if you could go back to your old self, tell yourself that, and really internalize that as a child, how much of your identity would be defined by that experience? If you could go back there and do that, how much of your identity would be still locked into that cage?
Very little, if any.
Correct.
Just an experience.
Yeah, and you would have compassion for the asshole who did it. You'd be like, oh, that guy, I hope he is in prison one, and I hope he's gotten help too.
Right.
Thank God he did it to me because I could handle it. There are other children that would have never, it would have killed them. I could handle that.
That's interesting.
Well, it's true. Am I saying something that is not true?
No, if I didn't think so, I would tell you.
Okay,
No,
well,
it feels like the truth. It just, I never, I always thought, I'm sure it happened to him. In fact, I know it, it happened to him. But I never looked at it from this perspective before. It was just an event, not.
Okay, how many times did you call out to God for help?
Every day. That it happened.
I mean, I'm talking as an adult.
Oh, as an adult? I've not been particularly religious.
I'm not religious. That's not a religious call. That is like, I need help.
Okay.
How do I stop? How do I get out of this? How do I relieve myself? How do I move on? Okay.
Often.
I just brought you a little box with a ribbon on it. We opened it up and you just got your answer. It wasn't about you. Have compassion for the asshole. Your poor mother is hurting. I mean, just open yourself up to see this from a perspective that gives you complete and total freedom. You could handle it. You did handle it. You handled it without this perspective, right? You survived it. And all you needed at this point was someone to come in and give you the gift of grace. It had nothing to do with you. You were a innocent target. Kind of like someone who just got hit by a drunk driver. Right?
Yeah.
You handled it. You could handle it. You did handle it. And it had nothing to do with you. So release your life from it. You kind of need to start over, right? What'll happen if you release yourself from this, and you're going to start over probably at age 6. You'll be around in terms of how you sense yourself, because your self-development stopped at that point. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to feel around.
I'm always aware.
Okay.
Of what people are thinking of me. I'm always thinking about, do they like me?
Yes, you should feel juvenile.
Saying the right thing.
It should feel juvenile. Like,
it's lame.
Stop.
Lame-o.
Stop. That's not cool. Don't do that. It's not lame-o.
Okay.
You need to hear me out here, because I'm talking to you from compassion here. Like, I get it. I just want you to know I actually get it. When I recovered, I had to admit to myself, I am literally about 4 years old inside. I feel like I'm 4. I feel that immature in specific immaturity to my sense of self and my emotional state of mind. I feel like I'm 4, and it was glaringly obvious to me in my heart that it was true. I'm about 4 years old inside. I feel like I'm running from nightmares, like a 4-year-old would feel with a nightmare. My life feels like a nightmare, and I'm responding to it as if I'm 4.
Interesting. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that. It's not lame at all. Are you kidding me? That's kind of what.
Just feel like it's not a right thing to do as an adult, though.
Oh, well, you are holding yourself to standards as if you were not molested. So, just so that you're aware, the standard you're holding yourself to is for someone who has not experienced intense trauma for years on end. What you're saying is true. You're right. if there wasn't a molester in your life.
Okay. That feels relieving, actually.
Good. Well, it's like, what? Because you agree. The relief came from your agreement with what I just said. I agree with her. Oh, she's right. That feels good. You know what I mean? I had to lose myself to get through it. That's how I got through it. So you could actually say, that's why I said you did it. You did it. You handled it. You had to go into a space that basically abandoned your own real identity. You abandoned yourself in that moment. You abandoned your truth because it felt dangerous. And what is amazing to me is that if you were to rewind through this video, you're going to hear yourself talking about there's something wrong with you. That is why this happened. You were a target because he could see that you had the vulnerabilities. If you believe that, can you see why you would abandon your truth? Because going back to that truth of a child would feel vulnerable to trauma. Are you?
I never looked at it that way.
You would never what?
I've never seen it from that perspective before.
Well, you know what, honey? If I'm telling you something you've already known, this was a waste of your money. I am here, and I have a box. It's a gift for you that is going to open your mind so you can get out. Right?
Yeah.
You have asked for this. I swear I can feel it so many times, and it probably took this long for you to be ready for it. I have a feeling that if this information came to you like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, you would have been angry because you weren't ready to hear this type of grace for this guy. I could be wrong, but for some reason you are open to it.
I never would have. I don't think in the past I would have ever had any kind of, I don't want to say compassion or empathy for him, but...
Or your mother. But I think that happened quick. You went right into compassion for her. That was easy. You didn't even fight me on that one. You really love your mom. I know. That's why it was so quick to break that one down. That was a very thin veil between you and her. That was not thick. I think and even with your molester, you're not having a hard time forgiving him in the moment right now either. Where I have a feeling you might be getting stuck is recognizing that little girl did not deserve it. That there was nothing wrong with her. She wasn't attracting pedophiles at all. It was the circumstance. It was the circumstance. The instability.
I've always thought, though, that it was because of how I was. You know.
No, that's right there. That right there is wrong. It has nothing to do with you. It had a lot to do with your instability, the instability in your life. And I think that's where he saw an end with your mother. I'm just want you to know it had nothing to do with you. So that right there, I think, is going to be more of an issue because you have abandoned yourself as if You abandoned that child as if the child deserved it. Right?
Exactly.
Okay. So you're...
If I was a better kid, or a more outgoing kid,
yeah.
nobody, you know, I wouldn't have done this. You would have seen, oh, she's going to tell somebody if I do this, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good to know now.
Right? No, it had nothing to do with that. But so you're going to have to, so the problem that you're going to have here is going back to that original girl, right? Go back to where you're at. You're 6 years old. Remember when you're like, inside I feel like really immature? Well, yeah, that's because you are not acknowledging that part of you. You've abandoned it. Imagine there's a little girl who you stuck in a cave and said you cannot come out. Because if you come out, molesters come in.
I would stand. Of course.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Did you hear what I said?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I didn't hear what you just said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said that I would stay in that cave. The cage.
Well, that's kind of what you've done. Right? That's what's happened because being real, that realness, the innocentness of that girl, the realness of her, you're blaming that for attracting abuse, right?
Yeah.
So the question you have to ask yourself, I want you to go in and ask the question, would you have to abandon that truth of who you really are, the truth of that innocence, if you, number one, felt capable, could handle it, and know that it has nothing to do with you?
No, because I would know that this is just another event that you're going to go through in life.
Yeah, like getting in a car wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't abandon yourself. You don't need to abandon yourself. Because what's amazing, when you combine a sense of capacity with that girl can handle that. There's nothing to do with her. I cannot tell you how important that thought is right now for you. This had nothing to do with her, whether she was outgoing or not. That's what would have happened to her.
Well, thank you. I mean, that feels very... I never, ever thought of it that way.
Well, that's why you haven't recovered yet. Do you see that?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so what needs to happen now is you need to bring that true self forward. Right?
Yeah.
And some of it is just getting to know yourself, right? So if this is insignificant, then what is the truth of this life's purpose? What's my life's purpose?
Well, so far it's been to lose weight.
Doesn't that make you... How does that make you feel to say that? Is it kind of funny?
Pardon me?
Did you hear the humor in that, your answer?
Yeah, I'm laughing as I say it.
So far, my goal has been to lose weight. Well, that's not your... Would you do that to your next life if you got another one?
Oh, I would never want to live this part of my life again.
Right. So let's just end it right now.
Horrible.
It's terrible.
No,
Do you really want to keep on trying to lose weight? Really? That includes thinking about your weight, feeling bad about your weight, making your weight 100% of your focus. because of that, having to restrict food, all you think about is food. All you think about is how shitty you are because you're eating the food. How's that sound? Do you want to keep on doing it?
No, I don't.
So let's quit. So what happens if you stop? If you completely quit trying to lose weight? What does that mean?
To me, to stop, I would stop obsessing. And I mean, I don't go through. I don't think I've gone through a meal since I've been a teenager where I didn't think, when I ate it, subconscious, I was thinking either this is really good for me or I shouldn't be eating.
I've done something wrong. Yeah, I've done something wrong. Okay, so if you
or I'm being really good because I'm eating a salad even though I don't want a salad.
Yeah.
I'd rather have something else. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever had a meal really where a day I just didn't eat and those thoughts never went through my mind.
So
because
tell
even
me.
If I ate well, it was, look how good I was today. I stayed on my diet.
Yeah. So imagine quitting. What would happen if you quit? Go back to my question. And I'm using the word quit for a reason. You're quitting. I'm freaking done. I'm out. What would happen if you quit trying to lose weight? You just quit. That means...
You mean intellectually?
All of it. I'm talking emotionally. If you quit permanently for the rest of your life trying to lose weight, forever, it is blacked out from your purpose. Your purpose will never again include having to try to lose weight. It is permanently removed from your life. You are quitting. What's the first emotion that comes to you?
Relief. I would never want to do this again. Ever.
Yeah, you wouldn't turn back. You would not turn back. It's not like, oh, I guess I might go back. No, it's over. How would it feel to be given that? To do that? To quit? Divorce? Over? Done? Permanently?
Freedom.
How does that
Freedom
feel?
from obsession.
Yeah, you won't have...
It would feel wonderful.
Describe it.
Just I could live and just enjoy food without an internal dialogue.
Yeah, or even caring about it. It would be so meaningless.
Right, okay.
That's the key. It would be like not a big deal. It wouldn't burn in your brain. Bad, good, bad, good. There would be none of that. Completely irrelevant. No, it doesn't matter. You see that secondarily, right? That if I am never again having to lose weight, food immediately loses power.
Yeah.
You feel how that happens. Let's walk through it again. Okay, so we're rewinding. You never, ever again have to lose weight. Ever. Permanently. You have fulfilled your contract. I am tearing it up. You checked the boxes. You went through what you went through. You just served your time in hell. You're done. You don't have to lose weight anymore. You don't have to fix your weight. You don't have to do anything anymore with that. Period. End of story. It's over. You have suffered enough. You know, on the suffering meter, you've suffered enough. You did it. You met your suffering level. So whatever damages have been done to your body, you don't have to fix it. You are relieved permanently from this. Forever.
Even though now I don't know, I have I have a doctor's visit in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're done.
She scheduled 2 months ago, and I thought, I'm gonna show her I can lose 15 pounds by the next visit.
Yeah, no, you're done.
Oh.
You don't have to do it. Well, you suffered because of that. Don't you agree? Maybe that's part of why you've suffered some more. Like I said, you're done. You are relieved permanently. Even though there's physical damages, it is not your job to fix those damages. You are done. It's kind of like you're no longer an indentured servant. Someone paid your bill. Someone paid your emotional and psychological bill. It's over. How does that feel?
Wonderful. It would need to sink in and grasp that.
Well, you're probably having a block with the body, but I'm fat. Yes. And you're to be okay with that now. A lot of people think, but I have to be thin first to be okay with it. Nope. I mean, you could be thin first, but that means that you're choosing by choice now to suffer. Okay.
Okay.
That's it. So you can wait till you're thin to get freedom, or you can just leave right now. And let the body do what it's going to do. And it's none of your business. You don't have to serve this anymore. It's over. So if you have to be thin, I mean, the extra suffering you're doing isn't because you have to. It's because you're choosing to. It's like saying, I want to stay a little bit. Then don't fix it. Why is it your business? You don't have to make it your business. Your debts have been served. You're done. You can leave now. You don't have to stay. Right?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
The weight off my shoulders. Like a new life.
Could you...
And a new perspective on living.
Yeah, do you feel like you could live in this body now? If you're relieved of that emotional and psychological debt, and you don't have to fix it, and you don't need to feel bad about it. There's like, it was like bad karma you just fulfilled, right?
Yeah.
You did it! You're free now, right? So I want you to think about it. You could leave and be free right now if you're okay with your body right now. If you're okay with it and you're going to allow it to just do what it's going to do, go back to that freedom from the obsessiveness, the freedom from the everything. It's like a new life. It's like starting your life over, but not having to be a baby to do it. It's like, and now I'm an adult and I have infinite possibility to really allow this being to grow into be and to experience this life in a beautiful way. And on top of that, I have this confidence around I'm capable of it. At this point, what can anybody do to you that you can't handle?
Nothing.
Pretty much. That's what you got under your belt. How's that feel?
Wonderful.
Feels amazing.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so I want you to imagine that. Like, really think about this, because there is a choice here in the matter. I mean, again, like I said, if you're not okay with your body, you can stay. You can continue to diet, or you can just be like, out, done. So tell me what happens if you choose freedom and you leave, right? You leave the indentured servants of people who have to lose weight.
But I wouldn't obsess about food. And whether it's good or bad for me? Should I be eating this? I would just eat to eat.
Mm-hmm. I want you to really feel that. How does that feel? You know, imagine eating something and knowing that you didn't do anything wrong. Nothing's been ruined.
I don't know what that. I mean,
well, you can feel that.
I've never done that.
But it doesn't matter. You can feel what I'm describing. You can feel that. You know what it feels like. You haven't.
Amazing, like a relief.
It feels relief. Isn't that what you've been wanting?
Yes. Yeah, it has been since I was 13.
Well, and since you were
first diet.
Oh, and since you were 13, I want you to imagine you thought that being thinner would give you that freedom, didn't you? Being thinner would give you that freedom.
Huh. I never thought of that.
Well, isn't that the illusion of wanting to lose weight? If you think about it, don't you agree in your mind, the illusion was that when I am thinner, I will be freer.
And even at 13, I was not overweight. I didn't gain weight until I was 17, 18. I left home. Left home when I was 17.
Yeah.
And that's when I binged as a teenager, but this is when I had real economic freedom to do that. Before I was relying on allowances. But now that I have my own money, I just go nuts. Binge whenever I wanted to.
Yeah, and then you can blame your mom. Well, and I guarantee you at the time you blamed your mother. I resent that was the beginning of blame, right? Which does no good for anybody.
No.
So at this point, you know, you can't blame her for you wanting that freedom. And it's understandable if you felt that you didn't have that freedom. But here's what's amazing. If you don't ever have to lose weight, let's remove the pressure to lose weight from existence. What happens? What do you get?
Remove the pressure to lose weight. The feeling that all that effort doesn't need to be put into.
That's gone. What up? I mean, you get the freedom. The word is freedom.
Okay.
You thought you were going to get freedom when you were thinner. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't have to be thinner right now, no matter what weight you are, you never again have to be thinner. Immediately what happens for you?
I don't feel a compulsion to want to be thinner, or that I need to be.
You don't have to be thinner. You're relieved from thinnerness, right? So what happens when we remove thinner from your list of things to do? You know, the list of things I have to do, we are removing and permanently erasing without you having to lose weight first. Losing weight will never be on your list ever again. What happens?
Free to do something else with my time.
Isn't that what you thought would happen when you got thinner?
Oh, yeah, I'd be done in it. Yeah.
Okay, see that? Isn't that funny? When I lose weight. When I lose weight. But what happens when we remove that from your list? Isn't that your captor? Isn't losing weight your captor?
Oh, yeah. Completely.
So you have been holding yourself hostage thinking that losing weight will get you freedom, but in reality, the concept of losing weight is why you are held hostage. So when I say to you, you don't have to lose weight, I don't even care how much weight you have right now. I don't even care. You don't have to lose anymore. You are done, period. Permanently, forever, from having to lose weight. You have served your shitty karma. Your suffering level has been met. You're done. You can leave now without having to lose weight. How does that feel?
Feels free. Like I can move on and do something else with my life.
Yeah, you just need to adapt to this body. You just need to say, I can handle this body. If I can handle 5 years of molestation, I can handle this body. This is nothing. This is easy. Is this connecting at all?
It is connecting. It makes complete sense. I want to. I'm saying that it is, and I want to make sure that I'm believing it as I say it.
Yeah. No, I understand, because if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen.
But I already feel like it seems like a different perspective now on what happened to me as a kid. And
well, yeah, and that can be
what I've been doing to myself as an adult. Why I've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I seems like I just wanted everybody to like it. If I'm skinny, they'll like me.
Yeah, but don't you think, again, that's like you're taking the truth of your persona and you're saying it's not good enough. Again, it goes back to allowing that 6-year-old girl to come back forward now and let that be how you shine. Not who cares about your weight? Your weight is worse than the molestation. I just want you to know that. I know that you can hear that, but yeah, like what you've been doing with your desire to be thinner is far more abusive and harmful than that molestation. And it's been going on now for 30 plus years. 30 years. The 30 years of what you've been doing trying to be thinner is far more harmful than the years of molestation. It will be easier to forgive your molester. I'm laughing because this is so true. Than to forgive your body for being fat. Which one's going to be harder for you?
It would be easier just to forgive the molester.
I know.
Definitely.
Right? I'm just saying. It is easier to forgive your molester. In fact, I think we got that accomplished within the first 30 minutes of this conversation. Like your mom, molester next. Over. Now we're going into this body. Did it really do something wrong? I mean, is there anything wrong with it?
No, it's reacting to how I treat it.
Yeah, of course. So it's actually doing everything right. It's protecting you, and this is how it does it. And you know what? To be honest with you, does it really matter? Do you really want people to connect with you because your weight, or do you want them to connect with you because you're a good person? Because of that inner bright kid that's inside of you.
Because I'm a good person.
Well, yeah. So you have to connect with yourself that way first. So you need to connect with that within yourself. You need to really feel that in your heart and your soul with yourself. And it needs to become rooted. That's a big word for you. Rooted. Very important. If you are rooted in yourself, with yourself, does it matter if you're evicted?
No.
I used that word for a reason.
I'm rooted, nothing but affect me this way.
Mm-mm.
You know?
No, especially if you know within your heart, I am a good person. I am trustworthy. I have incredible integrity. I don't mean anybody harm. I am not worthy of shame. Have you been torturing animals for fun?
No.
I don't think you're worthy of shame. So when I said to you, you really need to get rooted, when you connect with your truth, go back to that little girl, connect with her. She's a strong girl. She might be quiet, but she is strong. Connect with her and let her speak truth of herself and get rooted in her. Get rooted in that reality and know that that's good enough. That's what creates that rooting or stability within yourself. So any material change that occurs is irrelevant because you're rooted in yourself. Okay? So all the rest of this materialism becomes, it's an illusion, right?
Yeah.
Of stability. Not to say that, moving a lot isn't hard, because it is. But if you felt really good with who you were in your circumstance and you felt stable and connected to your essence and truth of yourself, and that was what defined your worth, okay, the truth of your being is what defines your value as a person, can you see why it won't feel as traumatic? This change wouldn't be so traumatic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it would be just another shitty event in your life you just have to get through and deal with.
Yeah, and shittiness is relative, right? It's relative.
Right. Uh-huh.
I know. I have gone back to, sexual assault and trauma there, and even religious indoctrination and the even further trauma in that,
Yeah.
And I can handle all of it. If I were given those experiences today, oh, hell yeah, I can handle it. Because I've recovered from it, right? So once you recover, it's like, oh, now I know this is not damaging. That wasn't damaging. I can handle it. I handle it. It's like when you come out of it. So all I've done in this consultation is given you a recovered perspective. Can you see how it impacts you? It's like, oh, there's a way out. That's my way out. There is an exit out of hell. And I'm going.
Yeah. Show me the door.
I did. It's hard to, there's no, this step, then this step, then this step. What it has to happen is you have to have compassion for yourself. You have done from the very beginning the best you could with what you were aware of. Everything you have done has been with a heart of gold from your innocence. Everything. To include your binging, right? You couldn't have done better. You didn't know any different. And everything you've done, all of the research, all of the obsessive, and all of that was with good intention. You didn't know that by trying to lose weight that you would end up held hostage psychologically. You didn't know that?
No.
And no, and not only that, you had just come out of trauma. So you're using thinness to recover from trauma because you didn't get any therapy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you became a radicalized thin supremacist. And what happens when you do that is you become extremely shameful around food. And that has dire consequences in terms of gaining weight. So you see that again, now you're looking at it from the exits position. You're out of the door looking at it going, holy shit, all of that makes sense now. It's confusing when you're in it, but when you come out of it, it's like, well, no, duh. No wonder I was going to binge. Are you kidding me? I was trying to feel safe in thinness. I was trying to feel safe and comfortable with myself because it attaching to the body image. Because I abandoned myself as a child, thinking that I deserved to be molested. No shit. You're going to have to rewatch what I just said. You're going to need to rewind that. We're at an hour. It happens at around an hour and 15 to 20 minutes. You're going to want to rewatch that.
Okay.
I just want to leave you with this. You are so done. You're done. If my job here was to give you a message, you did your job, it's over. You completed it. You did it. And you actually did a great job. You get an A+. You are now free. The body you're in is capable of fixing itself. It's none of your business. I wouldn't even worry about it. The moment you start worrying about it, it's like you voluntarily go back into your hell. So you are free. You're free. You've recovered from being molested. That's over. You did it. You handled it. You kicked ass. It's been over for a long time. It's time to really let it go. It had nothing to do with you. You didn't deserve it. However, you totally handled it. A+. You did it. So forgive yourself. Forgive your mother. Forgive your molester. That poor guy. He had to have been in a very, very dark place to do that. Indescribable depths of hell. And no, thinness is not going to give you freedom. It has done nothing but indenture you as a, you've been held hostage. So it's time to leave. You're done.
I could give myself freedom, though.
Say that again?
I could give myself freedom.
Yeah, right? Who gives a shit? Do you really need to lose weight right now to feel better about yourself? Do you really need to do that?
No.
I don't even know how much do you weigh. How much do you weigh?
253.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. I have clients who are 300, 400 pounds who leave at that weight. They wash their hands and they walk away because they have seen the exit and they left. The longer you stay indentured, the fatter you're going to get. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So if you really care, you'll stop and just let it be. Let it be. I understand that in this an hour and 24 minutes that this is not like bing, bada, bam, bada, bam, you're healed, demons be gone. I understand it's not going to work that way. But this is the conversation that I'm just like Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder right now. That's all I'm doing.
Okay. But this has changed so many perspectives and thoughts that I had about myself and my life.
Do you like it?
I love it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm only telling you what I've told myself.
Okay.
So I just want you to know it has worked wonders for me.
Well, thank you.
It is my pleasure. You're going to want to re-listen this. This is going to be good for you to hear it again.
Okay.
I know that this hasn't been very specific for like body image and letting go and all that stuff. But to me, that stuff, if you can work with if you can release yourself and let go of what's underneath it, let go of your stories, let go of your mom, let go of let go of your weight. If you can do all of that, you realize that you have been given a second chance. Do you feel that?
Yes.
Isn't that what you've been wanting? I just want a second chance. Just give me a 0 point. I just want to start over.
Many, many times.
Okay, that's what remember when I said I have delivered a package for you?
Yeah.
All you got to do is unwrap it and accept the gift.
I will.
Do you need to cry?
I have to.
I know. You probably just need to sit with it a little bit. Is this what you thought this was going to be like?
No. I thought I would be told that I just always tried that I caused what happened to me.
No.
You're the first person to ever say, it had nothing to do with you. Not just that it's not your fault. That's still keeping you in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But that it had nothing to do with you is completely different. That it wasn't your fault.
Yeah. Oh, and you can feel the truth in that. You feel the truth in that.
Dress sexy for him and jump in bed. That is different. This is saying it had nothing to do with you. Kind of also gives you some responsibility in taking care of yourself now.
Yeah, moving on. I'm going, I don't want to invest my energy in that anymore. Why? I only invest energy and devoted myself to it and responded to it the way I did because I thought it had something to do with me. So what I was doing made perfect sense because I thought it had something to do with me. But the truth of the matter is, it had nothing to do with me. So I can take all of my soul out of it and completely put closure to it. It had nothing to do with you. Yeah, so there's no reason to invest any more energy, any more criticism, judgment, shame, or thought into it. There's no point. It had nothing to do with you. You've got nothing to fix. You don't need to change. There's nothing wrong with you. And you don't deserve it. So that feels different, doesn't it?
Yes. Because it's always felt that...
That's what's in the box.
Okay.
That's the box I just delivered. This had nothing to do with you. And not only that, but you were chosen because you could handle it. not him. He didn't. It was a matter of, you can handle this. It has nothing to do with you. Period. Nothing's wrong with you. You don't need to change. Your authentic, sweet, kind girl inside is perfect. Bring her back.
All right.
Do you have any questions for me?
So I have a lot to think about. I guess taking notes.
Well, I will upload this and
Okay.
get it to you today.